Hi everyone. So let's start with our presentation and let's see how to boost profit by adopting API with a successful API strategy. We all know the enterprise world is changing faster than ever. To compete, it is now necessary to do business at an almost unprecedented size and scale. The best examples are Facebook, PayPal, and Alibaba. These seemingly disparate companies have upended entire industries by harnessing a single phenomenon, that is the platform business model. We all know APIs are powerful, and for many development teams, it is totally very new. A strategy for APIs is totally complex because it needs to cover many areas. Many teams don't know how to articulate the benefits of APIs to craft a strategy. So now let's go to IBM API Connect. It is a market-leading API management solution which enables automation of API creation, simple discovery of assets, self-service access for developers, and built-in security and governance. Let's see the top tips and best practices on scaling API adoption within our organization. Scalability is the ability of a system, network, or process to handle a growing amount of work in a capable manner, or its ability to be enlarged to accommodate the growth. Scalability is hot sought after quality in making architectural decisions for software products these days. The most robust way to increase the likelihood that our product continues to scale to end user needs is exactly through APIs. Scalable APIs, especially from an enterprise point of view, are built from consistency. So now let's see the various areas that create the anatomy of a consistent API. The first one is common data structures. So whenever we do data integration from different applications, the biggest challenge we face is standardization on a consumable format for our organization to use. And the second one is required data fields. That is, a part of a consistent data structure is knowing what is needed and how securely it needs to be implemented. And the third one is governance and authentication. So we all know the enterprise governance can be broad term wrapped in a bureaucratic bow. To unwind it, we will use governance to speak to permissions and responsibility. And the fourth one is eventing and polling. Modern communication is driven by millions of small pushes. So here we can do API implementation for text, calls, emails, news, applications, slacks, alerts, downtimes, and tags for naming it and keeping it more informative. And the last one is pagination and search. Search capabilities can vary from endpoint to endpoint with some very well written discovery APIs to pull in custom fields. A majority of time, though, it will take several queries to get correct path to the data which we need, and that's likely just for one application. Now let's see the successful API strategy models and methodology. Successfully executing digital strategy requires ability to launch new applications and coordinating our digital presence with partners. APIs create connectivity required to share enterprise data and digital content with those applications and partners over the internet. And it provides superior digital experiences for consumers through mobile. Expanding markets and revenue streams through multiple channels, and connection of employees and partners to enterprise data anywhere, anytime. Launching of innovative new services for the Internet of Things, that is IoT. Decoupling of systems of engagement from systems of record, providing the agility and speed necessary for application delivery. Opening up to partners and developers, spurring innovation and reducing time to market. Designing of products and services with increased emphasis on the consumer experience. Leveraging the data flow from applications and consumers and across lines of business to help build intelligent and personalized experiences. Now let's see the successful API methodology. The first one is remembering our objectives. It is important to develop clear digital strategies within an eye on transforming the business. Then we have to build the skills of employees to realize those more agile and effective strategies. The second one is we have to think like consumers and we have to look for the gap in our strategy. Most organizations have great information about the products and services they offer. The third one is we have to embrace the legacy. Your company is likely to have existing processes and systems that can be leveraged through APIs. Invest to shape the digital competition. Growth strategies demand new approaches for attracting and retaining consumers with better offerings. We have to focus on value. That is, the equation is very simple. The difference between what consumers pay for a product or service and the perceived value of the product or service, that is referred as surplus. Finding complementary partners. Royal Cyber can plug specific capabilities gaps and help manage the drive towards the transformation. Lead change from the top. A successful digital agenda starts with the company's leadership. Now let's see the automation of API lifecycle management by using DevOps platform. One piece of hybrid integration story is API lifecycle management, which defines the interface between our systems of record in on-premise and your system of engagement applications in the cloud. By exposing APIs, development teams can proceed with their multi-speed IT development independently. To enable an API strategy, the team must agree on definition of the APIs and support an API governance model which ensures that developers who depend on the APIs are in sync when changes are needed. Implementation of DevOps platform for API lifecycle management can improve governance and efficiency, saving our team time and money and ensuring high quality API deployments. Now let's see how to fine-tune a microservice architecture with IBM API. Securing and monitoring of our microservices, transition to microservices transparently, remove barriers to consumption, gain insights into microservice usage using all REST principles, use distributed tracing tools for analyzing the overall performance, use infrastructure monitoring systems that generate system and network performance data, understanding all microservice interactions and different failure scenarios. Now let's go to the impact of API adoption. API adoption is related to increased sales, operating income, and decreased cost. It is especially tightly related to increased market value. Business to business, business to consumers, and internal API calls are heterogeneous in their association with financial outcomes. The fact that API calls are associated with contemporaneous increase in firm value suggests that data flow at the boundary of the firm can predict financial performance. A new research at Boston University suggests that the use of APIs to facilitate digital transactions increases annual net income by a greater extent, with potential profit boost growing, since the platforms generate and exchange more data. So now let's see about API Connect. IBM API Connect is a lifecycle platform which helps in the creation of APIs in a secured manner with the help of authentication mechanisms like basic authentication and OAuth authentication. It also enables rapid deployment and simplified administration of APIs. It automatically creates and tests APIs, and it exposes data to developer portal. Security. In terms of security, here we use a specific security mechanism and also two API keys, which is IBM Client ID and IBM Client Secret, which needs to be sent to all the services by the consumers for testing it. And managing the APIs. Rapidly publish, lifecycle, govern, socialize, analyze, monitor, monetize APIs with inbuilt capabilities. Now let's see the Royal Cyber IBM API Connect implementation experiences. So one of our client, the bank in KSA, actually previously they were exposing services in IIB. As a part of APIC initiative, they have exposed all the services, the IIB services as APIs through IBM API Connect. And the main features, whatever they have used, are activity logging, custom MQ policy, and they also used network file servers and data port for auditing and dumping. And the API benefits are throttling, monetization, gateway and JavaScripting, testing via multiple languages. And the challenges are smooth upgradation of data port and API version without any downtime, and the protocols which are being used are two-way SSL and VPN, along with OAuth and basic authentication mechanisms. Now let's see how APIs are being exposed. Creation of APIs and exposing it through developer portal. So once the application is created, the required plan will be subscribed to the consumer, and the customer will access the API with the help of IBM Client ID, Client Secret, and the specific authentication mechanisms, that is basic authentication and OAuth authentication. And the OAuth token will be used in OAuth authentication. So the feature customizations are OAuth, mapping, and MQ message enrichment. And one of our US client, hardware retailer cooperative, and they wants to integrate their services with the main system. Ace Hardware wants to track the API calls and wanted to bill accordingly. Setup of a whole API Connect infrastructure, including high availability setup. The solution is to use IBM API Connect with data power for managing different APIs. IBM API Connect exposes APIs to quickly create, run, and manage the APIs that are exposed to external network-based devices and applications. API Connect solution is managing thousands of API calls per minute. And the application developers has a separate developer portal for testing their APIs before publishing. And after publishing also, they can test it via external tools like Sopio and Postman. And one of our US client, QSO, Credit Union Service Organization, and previously they were using Digital Gateway, which comprises of IAB, DataPower, and MQ. As part of API Connect initiative, they have exposed all their services, IAB services, as APIs through IBM API Connect. And they have exposed APIs for the existing DataPower services for capturing analytics. IAB services were exposed on REST instead of MQ. And one of our US client, the Telecom Company, they had custom accessibilities developed in version 4.0 of API Manager. It was a challenging task to upgrade that version to newer version of API Connect, that is 50x. We worked with IBM to create custom API policies in order to do seamless upgradation to newer version of API. We created separate community organization for each vendor, and each product is published into specific vendors, which they subscribed inside the portal. We generated applications for each vendor in their specific organization in portal, and also generated credentials which they use to access our APIs. And the solution is migration of API management to API Connect with zero downtime by creating a separate infrastructure and seamless switch from older version of API to newer version of API. And we have also created separate community organization, product, applications, credentials for each and every vendor to be used inside developer portal. And the benefits of API Connect are it provides SLA and easy configuration of APIs in a secured way. It also has API catalogs, separate and secure access for all vendors on exposing APIs, configuration of subscription plan for auto payments using Stripe account every month to vendors who are consuming APIs, no customer impact with the strategy. And one of our US MNC, and for them we have done the customization on the developer portal like this. And here we can see the API products, whatever we have published to the portal. The real API success is the combination of API externalization and realization. API externalization features are API exploration, self-service sign-up, interactive API testing, API usage analytics, rate limit notification, and multiple development communities. And the API realization features are multi-tenancy, rate limiting, runtime policy enforcement, API deployment, OAuth security management, data transformation and redaction, backend service discovery, version management, analytics support, role-based access control, environment management, monitoring, and notifications. So the best practices are to understand early on what runtime developer management environments will be required for our API cloud. API success requires the integration of API development cycles with the overall enterprise DevOps process. API monitoring, which includes the integration with enterprise system level monitoring. Begin the developer onboarding discussion early in the game, have discussions with partner application developers, and establish and agree on API plan, versioning, and communication procedures at the early stage. For public consumers, understand the use cases and focus on the security considerations at the earliest opportunity. Runtime components that store data or data sources must always be in the secured zone. These must be protected by enterprise security applications or servers. And also secure the portal server using DataPower Web Application Firewall. Let's go to Monitor Pro demo now. And we have one of our product development expert for Monitoring Pro team. He's Alok, and he will be walking us through the demo on Monitor Pro.
Hi everyone, thanks Ankita. It was so like Sangeeta explained what are the use cases and what is the importance of APIC regarding the track of whatever the applications are. So we developed Monitor Pro, just not limited to APIC. So when you sign in with the Monitor Pro the link, then actually you get to this particular dashboard which I'm showing now. So we are not only limited to API Connect, we do for business transactions, the data power, IAB as well as MQ. So when I say business transactions, then it is actually related to both data power as well as IAB. So we do on the so we do the system metrics as well as whatever the applications are required. We do the monitoring of it. Let me go through the slides first. Then we'll go with the demo. We'll directly go to the demo after that. So Monitor Pro effectively monitors the application's performance as well as system metrics related to it. So we are not, like I said, it is not limited to only APIC. It involves the data power, IAB as well as MQ. So with the help of like graphs and reports, you can effectively manage your APIC environment, and which will like be a boon for your systems. So APIC actually emits 4 types of logs mainly. Mainly it's like monitoring events, the log events, the API events, and the audit events. So these events are actually very important for your APIC to get reflected. So APIC Connect also offers the UI from its end, but the main drawback is like it's not user friendly. So what Monitor Pro does, Monitor Pro captures the data from these particular events and it shows on its particular front end in a more graphical, in a more proper way, which is more formidable and viewable for the user experience. So like the events can be captured and visualized in a very proper way with the help of Monitor Pro. So what we offer? So Monitor Pro, like I said, you can visualize and analyze the whole data. Now, so it's like if you're working for APIC, then you can analyze the CPU, the memory, and the use disk of the APIC servers. Even like you can monitor the services for like how many times a particular service was called and what is the status breakdown of it. So like in-depth analysis of the services pertaining to whatever the applications which are there on your particular APIC server. So the request count, the response count of each services, and in-depth analysis of whatever the stats are there, you can monitor with the help of Monitor Pro. So let's jump directly to the demo for the. So while you click on this particular link, you'll be directed to this particular dashboard. So like I said, this is the device name APIC_dev. So this is a server which has been mapped to the APIC Connect server, and it has like almost 4 applications running on its end. So we have biller inquiry, add profile, delete profile, and bill inquiry running on this particular APIC server. So which is like you can see on this particular tabular form that that this particular biller inquiry was hit by 4 times. The count of like add profile was for 3 times, for delete profile 1, and respectively for biller inquiry as 1. So this is a tabular form. If you want to see as a graphical analysis, this is also very formidable way. If you want to like, if the APIs are if you have a large hit of applications, it is very effectively if you can do it with the help of graphical analysis. So this is nothing but actually a graphical analysis of whatever we are showing in the tabular form. So likewise, the CPU and the memory usage of the APIC server, along with it, the use disk space. So this will actually be a boon because going directly to the APIC server and then checking the CPU and the memory in this space is like a very hectic process. So with the help of Monitor Pro, you can effectively manage all the CPU and memory and use disk space. So now let's go to the whatever we are providing for the services stats. So while you click on this particular link, you'll be directed to the detailed statistics of this particular service. So like I said, when we clicked on the biller inquiry link, then we were directed to this particular dashboard, which contains the status code aggregate. So when I say the status code aggregate, it means how many times this particular API was successful and how many times it was failed. So like you can see here, 200 means OK condition, which tells us that 3 times this particular service when it was called, it was successful. And the 400 tells us it was an error code once. So for once it was called, when it was called, it was a unsuccessful. So you can track your whole the whatever the application and it API it has. So you can track the data. So this is nothing but the status breakdown of how this particular service was performed with the help of timestamp. So like I said, you need to know how my service was responding, at what timestamp it went down, and what timestamp it was actually working properly. So a detailed analysis, like you can see like for error one around 12:30 IST, it went down, and correct after some like for some milliseconds you can see it went up. So it's like a detailed analysis of the status, which will be very effective for your service for tracking the services. So this is nothing but actually the average response time, the minimum and the maximum response time. So likewise, like if you have some a large set of APIs in which like you want to track how was the response time, so it tells us the average response time of each service, what was the minimum time in which the service responded clearly, and what was the maximum time. And this is nothing but actually whatever we are showing above here. So detailed analysis with the help of graphical analysis. So as you can see here, when you click on here this particular data point, then you can see the average response time was 2.875 seconds. The maximum and minimum was like 5.9 and 62 milliseconds respectively. So with the help of Monitor Pro, you can effectively monitor the whole APIC server, along with it the detailed analysis of the services which are present on that particular APIC server. That's it from the demo end.
Okay, with that, we'll end this webinar here. Thank you so much for taking time and attending the webinar. Have a wonderful day ahead.